in a remarkable feat of human perseverance, NASA engineers have re-established communication with the Voyager 1 spacecraft.
Before we leave that part of the solar system, most of the comets, in fact, are in interstellar space along with where Voyager 1 is today.
It was never supposed to turn back. For 47 years, Voyager 1 had been our quiet witness to the infinite, slipping further into the dark like a bottle tossed into a boundless ocean. We thought we knew its fate, an endless journey away from home, its voice growing fainter with every passing year. Out there, past the last whispers of the sun's breath, it had crossed into a realm no human eye would ever see, carrying our fragile greeting to the stars on a golden record of hopes, songs, and laughter. But now, it's coming back. No one noticed at first. The deviation was so small it could have been a glitch, a faint curve in its path, the kind that would normally vanish under the noise of deep space data. Yet the curve didn't vanish. It grew, and with each day the truth became harder to ignore. Voyager 1 was no longer drifting outward. Someone was guiding it home. Then came the signal, a heartbeat in the darkness. Faint at first, like the sound of footsteps far down an empty hallway. It wasn't random, wasn't the cosmic static we'd grown used to decoding. It was deliberate, a pattern that pulsed with unnerving precision, each beat echoing across billions of kilometers. Scientists stared at the readouts in silence. The hum of the control room suddenly too loud, too human. The signal wasn't ours. And it wasn't an accident. This was the moment the quiet dream of reaching the stars began to feel like something else. A message not of invitation, but of awareness. Something had seen us, and it had reached out. Voyager's thrusters were dormant, its navigation frozen for months. Yet the craft was turning, slow and steady, as if steered by a hand we could not see. The data told the story plainly. The shift was intentional. Magnetic fields around the probe were changing in perfect synchrony with the signal's pulse, space itself bending and reshaping as though being molded around our machine. Even cosmic rays danced in unison, rising and falling with impossible precision. This wasn't just movement, it was control. Every possibility played through the minds of the mission team. Was this a warning? A test? Or was Voyager being altered? Thermal readings suggested certain components were warming, deliberately brief flashes of energy targeting systems that should have been lifeless. Instruments long thought gone flickered back to life, only to fade again once the pulse receded. It was as if the source knew Voyager's anatomy, every wire, every flaw, and was reaching in to touch them. The most disturbing thought came late at night, when the world outside the lab was quiet and the monitors still glowed. What if Voyager was no longer entirely ours? What if piece by piece it was becoming something else? In the data streams, patterns began to emerge, geometries too precise to be the work of chance. Perfect lattices of dust and plasma along its new heading, glowing faintly in invisible light. It was as if Voyager was moving through a corridor in space, a path already mapped by an intelligence that had been here long before us. The golden record we had sent as an offering now felt like something else entirely. An open door, a self-written invitation to whoever might be listening. And someone had answered. But their answer wasn't in words, it was in the turn. The slow, patient arc back toward the sun was more than a change of direction. It was a gesture, whether of rejection, curiosity, or something we cannot yet name. It was deliberate, and it meant only one thing. Our solitude in the universe had just been broken. The moment the signal came through, the control room felt like it had fallen into a strange, suspended silence. Every screen glowed faintly, flickering with streams of data that seemed wrong somehow. Not wrong in the sense of malfunction, but wrong in the way a familiar voice might sound if it suddenly spoke in an entirely new language. Voyager 1 had sent strange readings before, but this was different. The deep space probe had been faithfully transmitting the quiet whispers of the cosmos for decades. Background noise, plasma wave fluctuations, distant starlight. But now the signal carried patterns, rhythmic, repeating, almost intentional. For hours, the team huddled around terminals, their coffee cooling untouched, their faces lit in shades of pale blue from the monitors. It wasn't just the scientists who felt the weight of the moment. It was the technicians, the engineers, even the interns fresh out of college who suddenly realized they were watching something that might redefine everything they thought they knew about the universe. Outside the walls of mission control, night had settled over the Earth. But for those inside, time had dissolved. They were connected not to the cycle of sunrise and sunset, but to something older, stranger, and infinitely more distant. Every click of the keyboard, every adjustment to the antennas, every recalibration of the receiver was like tuning a violin in a pitch-black room, searching for a harmony you couldn't yet hear. Hours became days, and then one night, the raw signal was filtered, cleaned, and converted into audio. The first time they played it aloud, no one spoke. It wasn't static. It wasn't random. It was music. Not human music. Not anything born from strings or wind or drums, but something haunting, rising and falling in tones too precise to be chaos. Some swore it sounded like breathing. Others said it reminded them of the deep groan of glaciers breaking apart, the sound of ancient ice shifting beneath miles of weight. A few sat silently, their eyes wide, as if they recognized it from somewhere deep in their bones. What unsettled everyone most wasn't just what they were hearing, but where it came from. The signal wasn't originating from any known star, planet, or asteroid field. It was coming from beyond the heliopause, the vast invisible boundary where the sun's influence ends and the true interstellar void begins. Voyager 1 was out there alone, drifting farther from home than any human creation had ever dared, and it was picking up a voice from the dark. Even stranger, the patterns seemed to respond. When they sent a faint, deliberate pulse of radio waves back along the path Voyager had taken, the return signal changed. It became faster, sharper, as though acknowledging the contact. No one wanted to say the word aloud, not yet, not until they were sure. But deep inside, everyone in that room knew they were balancing on the edge of a moment in history. A moment where the universe might, for the very first time, be whispering back. The team huddled in silence, each person's eyes glued to the live data feed. The numbers danced across the screen, a strange and deliberate pattern, almost like a language. Not random noise, not the chaotic static of a dying machine. This, whatever it was, had purpose. And in that instant, every single person in the room felt the same chill crawl down their spine. They worked in shifts, refusing to leave their posts, poring over every signal, every fluctuation, every unexplained spike in the data stream. And as the hours turned into days, the signal grew stronger, almost as if, unbelievably, it knew they were listening, almost as if it was answering. One night, when the lab was bathed in the pale glow of computer screens and the hum of machinery was the only sound, Dr. Rhodes, who had been the calm, rational voice since day one, stood up from his desk. His face was pale, his lips trembling as he whispered, "It's not coming from deep space anymore." The words seemed to hang in the air, heavier than gravity itself. "It's here." At first, no one understood. The signal had been originating billions of miles away. How could it suddenly be local? But the more they analyzed, the more horrifying it became. The frequency had shifted. The latency was gone. Whatever was sending the data was now inside the solar system. They began tracking it, running simulations, plotting trajectories, and the realization hit them all at once. This wasn't some random drift through space. The source was moving with precision, slowing, adjusting course, like a predator that had finally found its prey. Then came the images, not from Voyager's camera, but from telescopes on Earth and in orbit, faint at first like a trick of the light, but undeniable. A dark shape, almost featureless, but impossibly smooth. No sunlight reflected off it, yet its silhouette blotted out the stars behind it. And every time they tried to measure its size, the numbers didn't make sense, changing as though it wasn't bound by normal physics. Governments moved fast. The data was locked down. Access to the telescopes was cut. Public feeds were scrubbed. Official statements dismissed everything as a sensor glitch or cosmic dust. But the people in that room knew better. They could still hear the signal, still see the shape, still feel the presence of something vast, watching. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the signal stopped. Dead. No static, no fading pulse, just silence. The kind of silence that feels wrong. The kind of silence that makes you realize whatever had been speaking no longer needed to. In the days that followed, Voyager 2's systems began to shut down, one by one, as if something had reached across the void and plucked the life out of it. The last transmission was nothing but a single line of data, meaningless to the untrained eye, but enough to freeze the blood of those who saw it. A set of coordinates. They weren't in deep space. They weren't on another planet. They pointed out right here, somewhere on Earth. And in that moment, everyone who knew the truth realized something they would never say aloud. The signal wasn't a call for help. It wasn't even a warning. It was an announcement. Whatever was out there is already here.